the office actually open because it's not open yet. I helped them find a location in the neighborhood. I think that's a very good visible spot. So it's accessible by public transportation, by metro, so people can get to it. So as we work on that, we will get that information, but you can get that to me.
Yeah, they're just getting started with these things, but we will make sure that all that information does get out. So we need to get that from the union positions from them, and then once we finalize that application, we'll definitely make sure it's on the Alderman's website, it'll be on CF's website, and we will make sure that comes out.
Yeah. It just seems odd that you have a calculation for 7.5% of hours instead of revenue or cost, since that can amount to like 0.1% of the actual cost of the project. In other words, you could have all the cheap jobs go locally and all the profitable jobs go somewhere else. So
well,
that seems like an odd way to do it.
Excuse me,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question. So he said, I'm paraphrase it, he thought it was odd that it was based on percentage of job hours versus like percentage of dollar value. I have to admit, I'm not an expert on the ordinance and all of the reasons why it got situated.
Let me just tell you, there will always be people trying to get around and cut corners. And so this is a way of trying to prevent that. Is it the end all be all? No, it is not. But the way that they did it before is that it was a percentage of the job. And they would bring people, they would hire them, and then they get rid of them and bring their buddies on to finish it. So we had to find a way to try to address not just the dollar amount, but actual hours worked. And so that's how that amount was negotiated and arrived at. Of course, the goal is always to exceed that. But you come out with one plan, somebody's going to find a way to get around it. And so what we wanted to ensure is that people in our communities got an opportunity to work on the projects that were sitting on their front door. And so the way that we can do this is by doing the hours. You have to submit your hours, then that way we know. Are they going to find another way? I don't know. But at least you can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results, so you got to try something different. And since these jobs are based on hours, then that's what we're going to be looking at is hours. Other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Shannon. We are hopeful for November. The question was about when the project would be done. We are estimating that it will be done in November. As this is the city of Chicago, with weather being an unknown, I don't want anybody calling to say it's November 1st and you're not done and there's, 2 feet of snow. So that is just an estimate. We don't know what the rains are going to be like. We really don't know. It was snowing this morning, this first day of spring. So it is only an estimate. It is only an estimate. Yes.
So, when will the construction office open, and what are the projected hours, total hours for the project?
The construction office, I believe, do you start in April? It will open in April. Probably the first. I haven't seen their lease, but I would assume it would start around the 1st of April. So.
And what are the projected hours for the project?
What he's going to provide that to me, and then we're going to get that. I'm sure they're still working on that now. Just the estimate. So the question was, what are the projected number of hours? What are the hours of operation of the office? When is the office going to open? I do believe around April 1st. I know that they have secured space. I do not know what the lease is, but I would assume leases generally begin on the 1st of the month. And so that will happen, and he's going to provide us with the list, with the hours, as well as the union jobs that are available for this project. Pardon me? Is it 7101 South Yates? Because there's a Yates side and there's an Exchange side. It's the Jackson, the old Jackson office.
Oh.
And since that's not in the 77th, it's not in the 5th ward, I think it would have a 71, 03, 05 Yates, and then It's the only thing on that corner.
From my understanding, they need work.
All right, so now I want to bring up Vladimir and John, who are brokers for Jeffrey Plaza, to explain a little bit to you about how this, what happens when a grocery store comes in or they decide they're leaving, and they pull up stakes out of everywhere.
Good evening. Thank you, Alderman. John Neckes, this is Vladimir Gans. Thank you for coming tonight, and we certainly appreciate being here. As the Alderman said, our goal here is to give you an idea of who we are, what we're trying to achieve at Jeffrey Plaza relative to the grocery store situation, and then finally answering the questions. As the Alderman said, we are with Ascend Real Estate Advisors. As a commercial real estate firm, we have been hired by the owners of Jeffrey Plaza. As the Alderman said, the owners are an investment group that is based in Los Angeles, and they have retained us, a local firm. We have offices in Chicago and in Northwest Indiana and Sheriffville. And our goal is to work certainly with the Alderman, and we are the liaison to the owners to try to find a tenant for that space. Again, as the Alderman said, we are not talking about, let me just say, the space that was vacated by Dominicks was leased space, rented space. Okay? While that lease is still in place, that doesn't preclude us from finding another tenant, another renter, which we are actively trying to do now. I can tell you that the Alderman is correct, that she is very much personally involved in this situation. And you should be happy that you have someone like Hairston on your side, because she has literally burned up my phone lines and Vladimir's phone lines trying to work on your behalf. So, and again, our goal is we are a commercial real estate company. We don't sell private homes. We focus on commercial real estate like the mall, like Jeffrey Plaza. We deal with tenants, meaning we find businesses. Each of the businesses that you see there in the mall today are businesses that are leasing the space. They sometimes come and go, and it is our job to find, as space opens up, it's our job to find another tenant to rent that space. So that's who we are. So clearly our goal is here, we're here representing certainly the owner, but we're here in this community as well. I guess let me tell you that. Our focus is, and again, we've worked with the Alderman, is try to bring the businesses to this community, to that mall. And this is not the only mall that we have. We deal with a lot of other similar facilities throughout the city. And so I guess I would tell you a couple things. Number one, the owner certainly has an interest in leasing this space out. Okay? If he has a vacant building, in this case a vacant mall, while he's getting some, as the Alderman said, while he's getting some rent now from Dominicks, that's going to end. Okay, so it is in the owner's interest to get that space leased up as quickly as possible. That's number one. Number two, again, that's where we come in. We are actively involved to try to work with the owner to try to fill that space. Okay. Number three, we don't get paid if we don't lease the space. Let me be very blunt. Okay. Let me repeat that. We do not get paid if we don't lease the space. Okay. So it is our goal not only to get you the best grocer that we can in the community, not only because that's the owner's goal and what he's trying to achieve, but obviously we would like to get paid as well. So that's being very transparent, and that's who we are and what we're trying to achieve. In terms of the process, as again the Alderman laid out, we are actively actively talking with a number of grocers, as is the Alderman. There's, contrary to what you might see in the media or so forth, there are a number of people that are interested. Okay? But again, as the Alderman said, this is a process. This is a business process. Okay? You've got to find the right company. I mean, we're dealing with businesses. You've got to find the right company that's willing to come in and invest, maybe make some improvements. They've got to buy inventory. They've got to do their analysis. This takes some time. So that's kind of where we're at. At this point, I saw a hand here. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
You know, I was just wondering, it just came to my mind, you all knew that Dominicks might not be leasing and they were going to pull out, and this seems like to me all stuff after the cart has been spilled. You all are trying to wipe up this milk when you knew beforehand that they might be pulling out. So I'm just curious, I realize this is a long process, but it seems to me that we're kind of dragging our feet now. After the cart is gone, we're trying to talk about how we can fill up this space. You know,
That's a great question. Thank you. The question, let me repeat that. She said, we're kind of like reacting, I'm going to paraphrase again, we're kind of reacting to a situation. We knew that Dominicks was going to pull out. Why are we here in the middle of March trying to find another tenant where we could have done something a heck of a lot quicker? Is that about it?
Be a lot more proactive, because I mean, it's like the cart is gone,
Okay.
and now we're trying to clean up this spilled milk,
Yeah.
and the community
I get it.
is
It's a fair
left
question.
holding the bag.
Okay. All right. And again, I'm being as transparent as I can be. We did not know Dominicks was going to pull out until we found out in the media, just like everyone else.
Okay.
Until when?
They never sent us out a notice, a letter to say we're vacating. We saw it on the news just like everybody else saw it on the news. It was
That was
simple.
in
We were
December.
surprised. We didn't realize that they were closing down. We saw it just like everybody else saw it. It came up on the news, ownership was taking it back. We as a leasing agent have taken it back. Believe me, it's my job to be proactive and on top of it. If I know somebody doesn't renew, I've got to be on that instantaneously. And we just didn't know.
Okay, my question is this.
I'm sorry?
Other than Dominicks there, are there any other scheduled closings in the Jeffrey Mall?
No, they're not. Everybody is leased up.
And wait a minute. Can we
hardware
repeat
closed.
the question?
Other than
Wait a minute,
Dominicks,
not you. Can he repeat the question so everybody can hear?
The question was, are there any other tenants in the plaza that might be going out? The fact is, they're not. Everybody's leased up, renewed. Every tenant in there does very well and is very successful. So we don't have any issues with any other tenants.
Let me just ask, if I can, let me just ask.
Wait a minute. This young lady.
Again, just as we were surprised by the Dominic situation.
There's a mic right there, and instead of shouting out stuff, they're
You can hear me out there. You can hear me on the mic.
But other people might be able to hear. And so if you can, please get in line. If not, raise your hand and someone will bring a mic to you. Okay? Thank you.
All right, before you go, Bart, 1 second. We have a lovely lady here.
What about Ace Harbor, where Ace Harbor is very basic?
The Ace Hardware spot is a little bit of a challenging spot. The problem is 5,000 square feet of it is buried in the center, so you don't have frontage, you don't have visibility. Then you have 5,000 square feet that's actually exposed with signage, and that's been a detriment. Then the other problem we have is the tenants that did want to take that space, we had exclusive clauses with the grocer. So, for example, we had a dollar store that was interested. Well, we can't put a dollar store in there. Listen to me, guys. It's an example. It's just an example. But we deal with exclusives when we deal with the center. it's an exclusive saying you can't put this in there, you can't put that in there. I got clothing, Rainbow's got kids' clothing. I can't put another child's clothing store in there. So I'm limited to what I can put in that space. Does that make sense?
Well, a lot of us had a relationship with people who worked at ACE, and people were crying as they left. People who worked there didn't want to leave, and we didn't want to leave.
Understood. And that is something that will take up the owner of that age. We certainly can.
But you represent them.
No, I don't represent
Not
ACE. I represent the
no.
shopping center and the owners of shopping center. I do not represent ACE at all.
No, I'm not talking about ACE. The owner. Did they jack the rent up?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Did they jack the rent up?
Not at all. The rents over there have been very consistent for years and years and years. I don't know the answer.
Okay, I'm going to use my teacher voice. I'm a high school teacher, and we need order, so that's why there's a microphone here. I came over here because I was all the way back there. So we're going to do that so that we can all have our questions answered. So I want to first thank everyone here. Thank you, Alderman, and guests that are here to answer our questions. Thank you for being here tonight, away from your families. I have a comment and question. So my comment is, I've been in this community 3 years. Before moving to South Shore, I was born and raised in Humboldt Park. And the Dominicks and all the Dominicks that were closed and moved out over there have been filled with Jewels or Mariano's or other stores like that. So it was very upsetting for me because I usually have to go out there to do my groceries. I go to the Trader Joe's out there or the Mariano's and such. And so my question is, the lease, when is the lease up and how much is the rent? Because the owners are still getting money. And so there's really no interest, I would think, for them to have to fill the place up if they're getting their money. Because I'm a owner, a homeowner, and I also am a landlord. So if I'm getting money, then I really don't have an interest in putting a place there. So that's my question.
Well, you got to understand too that every owner, any business person has to be proactive. So the lease is up in May of 2015. That's when it's up. Ownership is not going to wait until May of 2015 and then work on a grocer. It takes 9 to 10 months for a grocer to open up and they take a space over. We need to be working on that today, yesterday, tirelessly to get a grocer in that space. So, and ownership is pushing, the alderman's pushing. I'll tell you what, if I got $1 for every time someone from the community called me, I'd already be a multi-millionaire.
So how much does the owner get a month for rent?
Well, I can't answer that for the owner. I mean, why does that even play a role? Really?
Because I feel like the reason why we don't have anything there is because it's South Shore. Because every other community, Lincoln Park, Bricker Park, they have their stores. With South Shore, we're not a priority.
No, that doesn't play a role at all. It really doesn't.
I certainly understand the comment and the frustration. What I can tell you is, if I was a building owner and I had a vacant, a significant portion of the space vacant, I would want that space rented and leased as fast as possible. Ladner said the current lease runs out in May 2015. Okay? It takes average 9 months from the time a person signs a lease to open up a store. Okay, get the inventory, prepare the site, get people hired, and open up the door for business. So no one's procrastinating here. The alderman's working on it, we're working on it. Our goal is to get that space filled up as fast as humanly possible.
My question, I live in South Shore also, and my question is, what are you doing as owners to provide incentives for a grocer to occupy the space? We in South Shore, a lot of us at least, would like to have something like a Mariano's or a Treasure Island or something like that, something that's a little bit more upscale than a Save-A-Lot or an Aldi or what you've already got, right? So what are you doing? I mean, we've heard over and over, maybe the space in from Alderman Hairston, the space is not all that attractive. It's old, it's worn, you know, there's some issues. So what are you doing as owners to bring up that property so you can make more of a profit by appealing to a more upscale grocer that has organic foods and the kinds of things that we really lack in this community, as well as bring up the neighborhood, as well as pad your pockets a little bit with a better tenant.
Great question. Great question. First of all, we are not the owners, okay?
You represent good enough for me.
We are not the owner. I wish I was the owner, but I'm not. Okay? We are representing the owner to try to get the space leased. That's the first one. The second point is what is the owner doing? Every negotiation, obviously, with whatever tenant, each tenant who comes in, whether it's potentially Mariana's, whether it's a Jewel, whether it's whoever, they're going to have their certain needs that they want, their certain brand, their certain way that they conduct their business, and you have to work through that process to be able to understand what those needs are, and then come back as representatives of the owner, what they're willing to negotiate, and then obviously, as I said earlier, the Alderman is significantly involved in those negotiations as well. So you've got a number of people between ownership of the mall, between the Alderman and her staff, and between the businesses that are working to try to get that space leased.
Let me see if I'm hearing you correctly. You, as kind of representatives of the owners, would be willing to perhaps try to persuade the owners to put something on the table in the form of money, incentives, rehab, that kind of thing, to make it more appealing?
Of course, that's our job, is to try to find a way. But of course, every negotiation is different. But that's what we do. We try to find a way to sit there and get someone in as quickly as possible that makes business sense, and at the same time try to figure out where the ownership is willing to negotiate or give a little bit, maybe where the city is trying to maybe help out, and maybe where the business. So that's what we try to do, is try to facilitate those negotiations between all the parties that are involved to try to get it done as quickly as possible. So the short answer is yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out. My question is, what are some of the reasons that they don't want to open their stores in our neighborhood? What have you encountered? Because surely the city can step in and say something. Because we've had Mariana's, there's what's the other one? I'm sorry, Whole Foods, and Treasure Island, Trader Vic. They're nice stores. So why don't they want to come in? What do they tell you?
What I can tell you is we've reached out to a number of stores. Those that you cited and others.
What? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said we've talked and reached out to a number of grocers, not only the ones that you stated, but others as well. Okay? Some are interested, some are not. We get the same answer as you've heard. We're not interested. Okay? Some are, some aren't. So again, that is
why not?
Why?
Okay. Well, and again, we probe that, try to find out. We position the mall, we position the location, and again, it comes down to the individual business decision of those companies. Okay, so I can't speak why a Mariano's said, no, I don't want to be in Jeffrey Plaza. I don't know. You know, that's a question for Mariano's, and I'm not throwing Mariano's under the bus, but I don't speak for Mariano's. What I can tell you is we're presenting that mall as best we can to try to get someone in there. And the reason people don't come, the reason certain businesses choose not to come here, that's a business decision that they make. Okay, that question is probably better directed towards them. I don't support it, okay, because I'm here. We're here. The Alderman's here trying to get that space leased as fast as we can. I can't speak for why someone would want to move in.
Well, I'm not accepting that. I'm sure someone else can come up with another question. But I feel that any time that this city wants something really, they negotiate and they get it.
I mentioned the people that I am actively talking with. Mariano's is also a subsidiary of Groundies. Still talking with Groundies. Still talking with Pete's Fresh Produce. There are a lot of people, so it is. I look at the glass as being half full as opposed to half empty. The other thing that I think that you all should know about the grocery industry is that stores plan ahead. They plan ahead. So they know in 2014 how many stores they're rolling out, in 2015 how many stores they're rolling out. They plan ahead. And the other thing that I said earlier is that this is a lease. So a lease is a little bit different. But please know that I am talking every day, all day, traveling around, trying to get a deal done. Okay?
Thank you. I'm glad you said they plan ahead, because I'm sure they plan ahead. Why you don't have one? What's the reason? Come out.
I don't work for Mariano's, I work for you all here. And so all I can do is talk to the ones that are talking to me. Groundies is the parent company of Mariano's, still talking to Groundies. And that's all I can say. Yes.
Just a quick question. I was curious when I've heard a lot of rumors about this store doesn't want to come here, this store doesn't want to come there. So obviously there's reasons. That's part one to my question. Part two is, what are the demographics that we're pushing along with the recommendation or the proposal? Because I've been hearing really disturbing demographics, such as, the average income is $25,000 or $30,000. I'm asking the question. Okay. So I just want to know if you can give me some background on the demographics, because as a marketer, I know that plays a lot into whether a store wants to come here, because they want to make sure that they're going to make a profit. So I know you guys are working on our behalf, and I'm grateful for this meeting. I'm just curious if you could just take 5 minutes just to tell us what the marketing plan is, or what the demographics behind the marketing plan is.
Well, as it relates to the demographics, when we present the demographics to a grocer or any tenant for that matter, our demographics are simple. How many people within a 3-mile radius of the shopping center, the average household income, very simple.
What is the average household income?
The average household income is right around $65,000 from my data. And the amount of people within a 3-mile radius is close to 250,000.
Okay.
That is beautiful demographics. That's fantastic as far as I'm concerned. We've got density of people that it's fantastic for anybody. That's why all the other retailers over there do so well. So now, but you have to understand these other grocers, these other tenants, they've got their own formula and their own demographics, and they run it through their system, and it either works or it doesn't. And all they need to answer that question.
If we are going to ask him questions, we should at least be respectful and allow him to answer.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.